Okay, on crime, justice and immigration. Powers to sack chief constables have failed to meet minimum standards within 3 years. There's a lot about that in the news the past few days, about that manifesto pledge. It's been picked up quite well. Basically, if a force is underperforming and complaints aren't withheld, or the force has been absolute rubbish, they'll have 3 years to get it right, and then the constable's been kicked out. There's been a lot of hoo-ha about that, because a lot of people thinking it should be a lot quicker than that. When it comes to normal employers and normal jobs, it's 3 strikes and you're out, and it's usually within about 6 to 12 months. As a last resort, failing forces could be taken over by more successful constabularies. Okay, but does that not stretch resources slightly? Surely you should be looking at maybe creating a new team, but there we go. Funding to maintain police and community support officer numbers, with them spending 80% of their time on the beat. There's a lot of paperwork in the police force, a lot of accountability now. Having more people on the streets, we'll see. I mean, the society has changed, but the community. But I like the way they put funding to maintain police and community support officers. So maybe they're looking to put more community support officers on the ground than police officers. Family intervention projects to tackle antisocial behaviour, with financial support for victims to pursue injunctions, with the cost being met by police forces or councils who let them down. Antisocial behaviour is one of the big things in inner cities. Deprived areas, antisocial behaviour is a big thing. The chav factor, as it's called, or the Ned factor if you're in Scotland. That's an interesting idea. I'd like to see a bit more about that. Laws to give any crime victims access to restorative justice, where they are able to tell offenders directly how their actions affected them and accept an apology. Let's go back to old school. Let's go back to the way that things were, where it was expected you to make an apology and explain your actions, and that seems to have fallen by the wayside. So that's an interesting one. Higher earning offenders to pay a proportion of their prison costs. Could they? Yeah, I suppose they could if they're high earning. We're talking about people, business leaders who are, fraudsters and things like that. Harder English tests to be taken by all migrants before they arrive in the public sector. All employers. I'll start that again. Harder English tests to be taken by all migrants before they arrive in the public sector. All employees who have contact with the public have appropriate level of English. I can see that, because if you go to other countries, you're expected to adhere to the culture and speak to the language. So I suppose in a way I can see where they're coming from on that one. The link between staying for a set period and being able to settle or gain citizenship will be broken by and replaced by a points-based system. Okay. Political reform. Now this is an interesting one. Public right to record MPs not disciplined in Parliament after being found guilty of gross financial misconduct. This is related to the expenses scandal. About a year and a half ago, a list was published where a list of all the expenses claimed by MPs over the previous 6-7 years was published in a national newspaper, and things were coming up like they were claiming for duck houses and for major renovations and extra television sets and things like that. Interesting to see that they've got they want to do that. Other things are referendums, an alternative vote method of electing MPs, and proportional representation in an elected House of Commons before 2011. So basically, they're saying that they want an alternative vote method for electing MPs. So basically, it may not be proportional representation. It may be a form of first past the post. And proportional representation elected to the House of Lords. So they're doing proportional representation, but they're doing it in the House of Lords instead of doing it in the House of Commons, where I think it probably would be more viable. Fixed term parliaments and free vote for Commons, and reducing the voting age to 16. As I say, point being made before, don't think so. I don't think it's really relevant. It'd be nice to see a voting age 16, but will that really get the votes that they want? Probably not. Fixed term parliaments, yes, I like that idea, because that's what happens up in Scotland and Wales, and it gives a kind of make sure that things are done within a certain set period, and the Prime Minister doesn't have to call them, because it can be very irregular. Okay, MPs banned from working for lobbying companies, an independent body to rule on applications from MPs to take second jobs. MPs should really be doing one job, and that's representing their people, their constituencies. If they got a second job, why have they got a second job? A lot of MPs in the past have been lawyers or things like that. Really, if you become an MP, you should be an MP full time. And if that's the case, then maybe you should look at maybe paying them a bit better as well. Personal finances. Okay, no stamp duty for first time buyers and all house purchases below £250,000 for 2 years, paid for by a 5% rate on homes worth more than £1 million. Okay, that was a policy which came in the budget. New rules on the sale of financial policies to ban unfair terms in consumer contracts, partly in response to concerns over bank charges and unauthorised overdrafts. It's not going far enough, but it's a good start. Responsible lending rules, meaning instant loan companies and payday and doorstep lenders risking their lending licenses by charging very high interest rates, backed up by a threat of formal interest caps. Loan sharks. Like that one. Increased competition amongst energy suppliers to ensure wholesale gas price drops are passed on to customers. Social tariff and winter fuel payment policies expanded to lessen the burden on poor and pensioners. Okay, I don't really have much on that. Greater ease of switching accounts and cash ISAs between banks. There must be a limitation on that at the moment. I don't think there was, but there must be a limitation on how that works. ISAs are the cash-free savings accounts subsidised by the government that banks and building societies offer to customers. There's a limit of £7,200 as of next financial year, and that's how much you. £7,200 is how much you could do in cash and in shares. But that's going to increase to £10,000. Post office to become a people's bank with much wider range of ordinary banking services, including access to accounts at other banks from post office branches. Okay. Post office has done a lot of financial services recently. It's been really successful and really good to it. I like that idea. I think that's quite cool. Legal right to a bank account along with bank levy to fund credit unions. Yes, there's a lot of people don't have bank accounts out there. It's quite weird because really you should have a bank account because a lot of transactions now work with bank accounts, direct debits and things like that. So yes, I agree with that. I think that's a good idea. The other things, other points. There's no commitment this time to privatising Royal Mail. Job or training place for young people out of work for 6 months, but benefits cut at 10 months if they refuse the place. Guarantee of work for anyone unemployed for more than 2 years. Okay. A right to request flexible working for older workers. Ending default retirement at 65. The link between the state pension and earnings re-established in 2012. I'm interested to see what happens to that. Commitment to high-speed rail link linking London, Birmingham, the East Midlands, Manchester, Northern England and Scotland. Basically improvement of the West Coast Main Line by the looks of that. Our goal that all young people contribute at least 50 hours to their communities by the age of 19. Ooh, that's jumping on a Tory policy, which we may come to later. Powers for supporters trust to be able to buy stakes in football clubs. Yes, there's a lot of football clubs at the moment which are going bankrupt and administration, things like that. It's good that supporters may have a better share at say in it. About 40% low carbon electricity by 2012 and 400,000 new green jobs for 2015. We're supposed to have about 20%, I think it was 20-25% renewables by now, 2010. So, will that happen? We'll see. Legislation for pay-as-you-save schemes allowing for people to fund home energy improvements through subsequent savings and utility bills. Okay. Biodegradable and recyclable materials banned from landfill. Quite right. Let's limit what landfill is used for and encourage people to recycle more. I like that. I like that one. Policies overall? I'm not sure. I think Labour have got a few things there. It's the first time I've actually looked at the manifesto properly. First opinions are, we'll see. The Conservative manifesto has been released on the 13th of April, the Liberal Democrats on the 14th of April, so all the manifestos are now coming out, so the next couple of blogs will be basically the manifestos. Apart from that, thanks very much for watching this two-part blog. I've noticed it's become 2 parts, the running order is quite long this time. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you later. Bye bye.